Welcome back. Today I'm excited to listen to some more Band-Maid. I don't know if you can see it under my microphone. I'm actually wearing a Band-Maid t-shirt. My wife and kids got me this for Christmas and it's finally warm enough to wear it. If you've seen my last couple of videos, you know what I'm doing. I'm pretending that I'd never heard Band-Maid before, and I went back to the very first album, which was made in Japan from 2014. We listened to that whole album, and then we listened to the 3 songs off the single that followed, which was Love, Passion, Matador, and that included 3 songs, Love, Passion, Matador, Summer Drive, and Thrill. And in my opinion, for my tastes, I liked the 3 off of that single better than I think any of the songs off of the original album, although I am partial to Be Okay, but that's for emotional and mental reasons that are probably best kept to myself. Now we know from the history and lore of Band-Maid that in 2015, somebody posted Thrill, the video, on a Facebook page. And I've made this little timeline here to show when that happened. That was after that single came out a few months later, and then not long after that, they released their next album, which is New Beginning. And I have that album here. And once again, this is one of those cardboard albums instead of the plastic album, so it doesn't quite fit perfectly with other CDs on the shelf. However, this one was pretty cool. Not only did it have some cool photos inside, hopefully there's a little video playing right there showing you the cool photos, but in addition to the CD, it came with the DVD. And that DVD included 2 music videos, at least one of which I will have time to get to today. Now the track list here on this album says the first song is Thrill. Well, since we just listened to Thrill, let's go on to track 2, which is Freezer. Now I do have the lyrics sheet here. It folds out actually quite large that came in that cardboard album, and it does have the lyrics to Freezer, but most of them are in Japanese. Fortunately, some helpful people have put English translations on the internet. According to this translation, it says, "In my empty, blanked head, what things should I squeeze inside? Wearing this worn-out shirt, I am slumbering, my swollen face on the mirror. That's not really me. That's right, I broke up with him last night. Just a little bit sad. I will sleep by a freezer and feel the shivers. It's better to have days like these, my own ice age. Close a memory and good luck. Let them freeze. And then one day I'll smash this thing into tiny pieces." And it goes on basically in the same vein. I think it's pretty clear that, you know, it's about a breakup. I mean, it says right there in the first verse that it's about a breakup. And I don't know if that turn of phrase, sleep by a freezer, is common in Japan, but I've never heard it before, so that caught my interest immediately. So let's just listen to it and see what we think. Okay, that's the best opening by far of any Band-Maid song we've heard so far. Again, starting at the beginning and going through chronologically. As much as Thrill was more hard rock than all the stuff that came before, this is more hard rock than that. I love how the lead guitar started by itself with this really catchy riff, and then the bass came in supporting it and so on. I'm just going to back up and do this again. It also sounds like Saiki's really starting to hit her stride here. This is just the second album. She's also singing, at least in this part, it seems like close to the low end of her range. It's harder to do this than you might think. You see people do this on the internet all the time, but it's really easy just to listen to the music and get caught up in it and to forget, like, oh, I'm supposed to be thinking of something to say about it. One thing that distracted me while I was listening, by the way, is that their cover on here looks different than my cover. My cover has the words in gold, and it says Band-Maid underneath, and it's in a different font than that. It doesn't have the Band-Maid down at the bottom, so maybe that's the original cover and this is a later cover. Maybe that's just an image they came up with to put on YouTube. But I did notice when the vocals changed from Saiki to Miku, she got half the verse, sounded like. And then, of course, they were both together singing in the chorus. Another thing that I noticed about halfway through the first verse is that Akane is doing more interesting things on the drums than she was doing on that first album. Whether they told her to or whether that's what she wanted to do, I don't know, but she was just keeping the beat, keeping the time, changing the tempo when it needed to be changed, but basically being steady. But here I felt like she was doing some more interesting things. Backing up just a little bit. Right there going into the chorus, Akane did a really interesting fill, so quick that blink and you miss it, but I think that's a step up from what she was doing before. It also sounds like in the chorus, Saiki and Miku are trading off at one point, which kind of makes it feel like the song is faster, where one of them's just singing on the beats and the other one's singing on the off beats, and so because of the trading, it sounds like it's twice as fast there for a second. There's the guitar riff from the beginning. Akane did it again. Even though this isn't the same interesting drum stuff that she was doing later, especially after they began writing their own songs, it's more interesting than what the drums were on previous songs. Also, I wanted to comment on how well Saiki and Miku blend when they're singing together. Now, I don't sing. I'm not a professional musician of any kind, but I have sung. Have sang? I don't know. Apparently, I'm not a professional English speaker either. But I was in high school choir. Maybe some of you were, or church choir, something like that. And one of the things that our choir director emphasized to us as we're practicing is, starting and stopping at the same times. And you just have to practice that over and over and over. And even if all our voices, say all the baritones or all the tenors, all the altos, all the sopranos, and so on, even if you're all singing on the correct pitch at the same time, the qualities and the shape of your voices are different. And so somebody listening to that goes, well, yeah, they're all singing the same note, but there's at least 10 different voices. But to get them to sound closer just takes singing together a lot. And that doesn't happen when you just walk into the studio to lay down a track. Along with so many other things, that's one piece of evidence that stood out to me, that there was a lot of time spent practicing these songs, those harmonies. And I think it's especially difficult when the two singers have to trade off like they were there for a second, for one little brief moment in the chorus. And of course, during the verses, one of them singing, the other one's either not singing at all or singing backup, and then they switch. And in those moments, you can tell which one is which most of the time. But then when they join together, it's really close. I just wanted to point that out. That takes a lot of work. And I do like the song so far. It's got a nice beat. It's good, solid rock and roll. There for a second, it sounded almost like Saiki was tripping over the words. She was spitting them out so fast. And that's something that we've come to expect from later Band-Maid. The songs are so filled with lyrics. They just keep going. In all the places in a rock song where you would expect the vocals to just drop out and there to be music for a few measures, Band-Maid seems to fill up that space with more vocals, which is fine. We all love to hear them sing. And it's just really impressive how many words she can fit into certain spaces of time. I'm going to go back and listen to that again, if that's okay with you. I think, to date, going chronologically from the beginning of their career, I think that's Kanami's longest guitar solo. Maybe during editing, I've put the elapsed number of seconds here on the screen, but subjectively feeling, it sure felt like a really long guitar solo. It also seemed really adventurous. Like there were 2 or 3 different and almost unrelated experiments in that guitar solo. it sounded like she was having fun with it, which is one of the things that rock and roll fans look for in guitar solos, is you crave that sense that the guitar player is just about to go over the edge, mentally, emotionally, and they're expressing that instability through their music, which is incredibly precise because they're so good at their craft. And I know I'm not explaining it very well, but maybe those of you that do play music or have listened to it for many years know what I'm talking about. That balance between being really good at what you do, and being in total control, but maybe mentally and emotionally feeling like you're just about to lose control. And it almost felt like we're seeing that maybe for the first time. Couple of things there. Was it just me or did she change keys during the guitar solo? I don't know enough about music to be certain, but it sounded almost like she did, maybe more than once. Second thing is I think this guitar solo and the transition at the end of it was almost like a precursor to what we see a lot of in current Band-Maid, which is at the end of the guitar solo, the intensity level of the song drops conspicuously. Sometimes the drums cut out, sometimes the other instruments come out and it's just vocals, or if there are instruments, they're really soft, just barely underneath the vocals, and it gives you a moment to just relax and breathe, and then they pick it back up. Also, third thing, right at the end of that, there was something very interesting from the drums that I'm going to back up and catch the last few seconds of the solo and get those drums again. It wasn't just something interesting with the drums, it was something that you would expect then to go back into the full rhythm, but instead there was a little bop-a-da-bop and then another break on the drums. And I think the break afterwards drew my attention in just as much as the little fill did. So again, knowing that they didn't write their own songs, but I am curious as to how much they had to do with this little section right here. If not, whoever wrote this for them was on fire. Okay, they changed that a little bit, didn't they? That was different from the previous choruses where they traded off, where they made it sound twice as fast by alternating words. Maybe not. Wow, that was really good. I'm pretty sure I've heard this song before. I have a bunch of Band-Maid songs floating around on my Spotify, various playlists, and I'm not one of those reactors that pretends or actually is telling the truth when they say that they've never heard the song before. I'm pretty sure I've heard it before, but I don't know that I've ever just listened to it all the way through, and that was really impressive. Like I said, it wasn't the opener for the album. Thrill was the first song on the album, and we've already heard Thrill from the single, although not every fan would have heard that. So if you picked up this album in November 2015, I think is when it was released, and listening to it for the first time, you heard Thrill first, which we all know was the song that saved Band-Maid because the video was posted there. But if you're listening to this album and you heard Thrill, you're like, hey, that's a good hard rock song. This steps up to me, my tastes. I know all our tastes are different, and maybe Thrill is better for you, but for me, Freezer was better. And I'm pretty sure, let me change that. I know for a fact that the next song, track 3, is another step up, because I know I've heard that one before. And Real Existence is one of the ones that has the video on the DVD that's in this disc. And maybe whoever was in charge of this album and deciding which tracks go in which order has different tastes than I do. But to me, it seems like a really interesting choice to order the songs in the way that they did. Maybe they put Thrill first because it was a known entity. And by the time the album was released, Thrill was already incredibly popular online. That's entirely possible. I have no idea. But just without context, if you remove any outside context and you're just listening to these songs and deciding which order to place them on the album, seems like most bands will put their banger at the front, right? And already these two are out of order, Thrill and Freezer, to me. And then once you add the third one, I'm pretty sure it's out of order too. I have switched over to Spotify for my first listen here on Real Existence. And in case you missed it in my previous video, I'm just the kind of person that likes to hear the audio first. If you were hoping to see the music video, just wait a couple of minutes. And if you're one of those people that says, oh, you have to see it live, wait a couple of minutes after that and just keep watching this video. But I like to hear the audio first. And I didn't find on YouTube where they just had the audio like they do with some of the songs. So here I'm going to do the audio for Real Existence, which is track 3 on New Beginning. Wow. It's really hard to imagine what it must have been like to hear that for the first time because I can't remember. And the first time that I heard it, it was with the music video. So, but it also sounds different here. And it might be a combination of which app I'm using and how I've set up the headphones or something, but it does sound different than the way I remember it sounding. But I do like how the intro is put together. I think I already mentioned it, but whoever was writing the songs and putting them together for the band at this time, they were on fire at this point. I think I've heard this song 50 times because it's #1 on my playlist. If you haven't seen it, I have a playlist called Band-Maid's Best, sorted, and I change the order all the time. This is my #1 song, so I've heard this a lot. And I think I just heard for the first time what the lead guitar is doing behind the voices there. She's just letting a note ring out. The drums are doing extra special work in this song. So as much as I felt bad about saying it and mentioning it through that first album and the single of Akane just doing rock and roll beats in the background, in Freezer she picked it up a notch, and this is another world entirely. She was saving it for this. It's not the only great thing going on in this song, but I'm noticing it because of the lack of it in the previous songs. The drums are constantly changing and doing interesting things. Of course, the vocals sound good. There's a nice driving guitar and bass working there as well, and this is put together nicely. I'm sorry. All right, I had a few tears in my eyes there for a second, but yeah, it felt almost like Akane took some classes between the previous songs and this one. I almost couldn't hear the rest of the song because of how outstanding the drums are in this. This is And I'm not saying there aren't 100 other drummers or 1,000 other drummers maybe that can play this. I think, but the difference between the previous songs and this one is ridiculous. I forgot where we were in the song, but I think we're going into the second verse. And again, I've heard this song before, but maybe I haven't heard it with these headphones. In case I haven't mentioned MISA yet, that's beautiful what the bass is doing behind the vocals there. And then it cut off. It went at the end. Oh my goodness. I don't know how high up on the neck you have to be on a bass guitar to get notes that high, to sound that melodic. I also don't know when was the last time I heard any other rock song play with the bass guitar like that. There might be a bunch of them. I just can't think of any right now. It's like a waterfall. I guess that was Miku in the background, just wailing vocally while Saiki's doing the lead vocals. And I think it was Miku just vocalizing in the background. That's amazing. I'm glad that the song has tempo breaks in it. I don't know if that's the right term, but after the the galloping drum beat, it breaks for a minute and it goes slower. For a second there, I felt like my blood pressure was rising. I felt my body temperature go up, and it was nice to just have a little bit of a break. And of course, right here, I'm pretty sure we're about to go into the guitar solo, which is one of the reasons that I have this song listed as #1 on my favorites playlist. I also like that they fake you out before the guitar solo. Every time I hear the song and it gets to this little fake out where it's like you expect, nope, not a guitar solo, just a little bit of a break. And then they give you the guitar solo just when you thought they weren't going to. I hear you, MISA. Am I the only one that gets Deep Purple vibes from that guitar solo? I think it's Deep Purple. Is it Highway Star? That's a much longer guitar solo. If I remember correctly, I wasn't born yet, I don't think, when that came out, but when did that come out? Okay, it looks like Highway Star came out just a few months before I was born. But I definitely caught echoes of it in this guitar solo. And yes, I noticed the drums. It made the guitar solo seem twice as fast because the drums were maybe hitting on the offbeats or kind of counterplaying with the guitar. For every lick that you heard on the guitar, there was a drum beat in between them. And yeah, right before it, I heard some pretty cool bass effects from MISA, but I want to do this guitar solo one more time. Sorry, I thought I heard my phone ringing or something in that song, but I was wrong. But it wouldn't have mattered. I don't think I would have answered it. Oh my goodness. I love that the spacing between, I don't know what you call it, but the length of the heavy, fast driving sections versus the spacing of the break sections is just right for me. I think there's a reason that maybe speed metal or whatever isn't my favorite genre of music, and that's because some of those just do that for the whole song. And then the next song, and so on. Just constantly. And I need a break once in a while. And I love that they put breaks in there. I also noticed that again at the end of the guitar solo, they had a widening out section where the instruments drop back quite a bit, and it's mostly vocals, and then the instruments pick back up. But yeah, this is the first song, chronologically speaking, in which Akane does Akane things. The things that we love her for later, the change ups, the runs, the fills, and especially her backup during the guitar solo. That guitar solo probably would have been great if it was just only the guitar, but it was greater because of what the drums were doing at the same time. And you definitely cannot say that for every guitar solo. We can go back and listen to some old guitar solos that we knew and loved, and they're not all getting such an assist from the drummer like that one was. Let's look at the music video. 'Now, I might be wrong about Akane, but is this the first song, again, chronologically speaking, as they released their albums, in which she was using what sounds like the double bass pedal? I'm trying to think back to the previous ones. Did she have that in Thrill? I don't know. But it sounds like that's being made use of here. And also, because I just listened to the audio alone first before seeing the video, I'm definitely catching some of those same things again that I wouldn't have caught when I was watching the video before. I love what I'm seeing of Akane's energy here. I like the film work, the camera work, not so much the editing. And this might just be my age, or maybe it's just my personal taste, but I feel like a lot of these videos are cut too fast. I also like in the background of several of these shots, or sometimes off to the side, you see Kanami doing her own thing. And I like that. I just wish maybe it was on like more in focus more of the time. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, it's behind me. Oh my, how often do I do that? I'm going to have to move my camera. Look at that. Yeah, as it came into this, Kanami there was just, just going at it, enjoying herself, kind of like I pointed out in the Thrill video. And in my opinion, not enough of that was caught on camera in this video. I do love the location that they chose for this. I believe I read that it's an actual temple, and so I don't know if they were incredibly fortunate to get to shoot there, or if it's something that they allow to happen once in a while. I have no idea. Either way, it makes for a good looking video. I do like that Miku's the only one that gives us just a little bit of a smile, and all the others were so serious. It's really subtle though. If you advance frame by frame, it's just a slight change in head tilt, and then the lips and the eyes change just a little bit, so she's not so serious. And then there's a little head tilt like, I see you there, I acknowledge you. I like that. Thank you, Miku. There's oh, she's way up there. Yeah, I mentioned during the audio, how high do you have to be on the neck of that bass to get those notes, and we just saw it. That's how high on the neck of the bass you have to be to get notes that high. all the way up there. It looks like there's, only 2 frets left that she hasn't made use of, and it shows. That's just a beautiful sound. And again, I'll mention the precision with which Saiki and Miku are singing, the attack of each word and the release of each word, the breath spaces, everything is lined up precisely, more precisely than I'm accustomed to hearing with multiple vocalists in rock and roll. It's impressive. Speaking of Akane's work in this song, I was just catching her expression and I went back trying to find the exact spot here that I noticed it. And obviously they're just recording the video here, not, making the studio album, but you still have to play pretty close, right? And you can tell she's concentrating on it. If you advance frame by frame through this section, just watching the minor changes on her face, she's focusing so carefully on getting this right. She's looking at the next spot where her hands have to be. Her eyes got there first. Oh, the camera angle changed, and she's going across there, but the eyes went ahead so she would know where she had to hit. It was fun to watch that part. All right, we're not even halfway through. Let's keep going. Sorry, for a second, it looked like Akane was about to hop out of her chair. She was bouncing so hard, which is fine if that's what it takes to make it sound like this. Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't think I can say anything that hasn't already been said except this. I thought I noticed it in Freezer, but I definitely noticed it here the first times that Misa's bass has sounded like the tone that I'm more accustomed to in her newer songs. I don't know what you call it, whether it's an effect, I assume, on the bass, where it sounds almost like a sports car engine revving up or running at a certain pitch, rather than just a bass guitar like we heard before. But yeah, they definitely dialed in some things here in Freezer and in Real Existence that we've been waiting for. If we've started listening to Band-Maid with their first album, then this single, and we got here, this is what we've been waiting for. And if we don't know that future stuff is coming yet, it's hard to believe right here at Freezer and Real Existence that can they outdo this? Because a lot of bands would give their left arm to have a hit like this. A rock song that sounds this good. A deep message too. wild and woolly guitar solo, the waterfall bass thing, and the drummer doing what I was talking about with Kanami and her guitar solo in Freezer. That's basically what Akane's doing in this whole song. It feels like she's gotten so good already by this time that she has precise control of all those things she's doing, yet it feels and sounds like she's about to go off the rails. I could listen to this song 5 different times, 6 different times, and each time focus on something slightly different. If I could go through just once, I could go through once just listening to Saiki, and go through another time just doing the guitar, and another time just the bass, and another time just the drums, and another time just Miku's vocals. There's so much here, and so many bands would love to have one song this good. How can they top that? And I wouldn't believe that they could if I hadn't already heard the stuff that did. Well, let's do the live and call it a day. I did notice that the wailing that I was talking about on Kanami's guitar was missing here, that I heard in the studio track and in the music video. Again, just like in the music video, I wish they had captured just a little bit more of this part where Kanami is really getting into the song and having a blast. I love this part here where she's swinging her head around, swinging to face different directions, and it's fun to watch her in the background whenever she happens to be in the side of the shot that's supposed to be Saiki. It helps me to get into the song. Well, for those of you who complain that you don't see MISA smile enough, I paused here. That's MISA smiling. She clearly enjoyed the brief interaction with Saiki and apparently knows that she just pulled that part off flawlessly where it sounds like the bass is I don't even know how to describe that. It sounds awesome, and she appears to know it. If I'm not mistaken, this footage is taken from 2018. So a good 3 years after this album came out. They're on an entirely different tour here, and clearly they've come a long way. Wow. I've been on this almost an hour. I've got to stop, but I did notice a couple of things there. One, I mentioned that they have come a long way. One thing I noticed definitely is the little looks that are communicating one thing or another to each other seamlessly during the performance. One of the looks wasn't about their performance, about how the song is working. I noticed at the end of the guitar solo, Kanami looking over her shoulder at Saiki as if looking for approval. And Saiki noticed that and gave her approval. I also noticed, I had mentioned in the music video, that Akane's eyes were tracking ahead of her hands when she was drumming. Here, she's clearly grown as a drummer because she wasn't. At least in several sections that I noticed, she's either looking at other band members, she's looking at the crowd, and she's doing the same drum part that she was in the video, but she doesn't need her eyes there ahead of time because she's been doing this for a while now. And now, what may have been extremely difficult for her and required lots of work back in the original now is everyday stuff for her, and that's just a huge sign of improvement. And one last thing I noticed right there as they were going into the finale, the outro of the song, Miku's bright smile. And when she's happy, it's hard not to also be happy. Obviously, I'm not going to make it through the rest of this album. I'm going to save that for another video, but this is really impressive. Even though I have heard this song before, however many times I've heard it, I'm still blown away by this song. I think the big surprise for me here was Freezer. I did not remember it being that impressive, but maybe it's impressive coming up through the first album and that first single. And in that context, Freezer was really impressive. And then this one's another step up. And I still have to ask, like, how can they top that? How can they beat that going forward? Wink, wink. I know they can, but at this point, it would be difficult to believe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.